Violence has no place in civic life, and it certainly cannot continue to be used against the President of the United States.
Let this be a message to anyone who thinks that Washington, D.C. is the place to act out political violence. We will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
The President spoke on late Saturday evening with a message of unity and a backing of law enforcement, and we have followed through on that message.
DOJ officials briefing the public following the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday. The incident intensifying the debate on Capitol Hill over DHS funding, as the Secret Service has still not been paid and is still working to protect the president. One Secret Service official shot Saturday, but expected to recover. Maria spoke with New York Congressman Mike Lawler on this program yesterday. Here is what he told her.
First, it was about health care. Now it's about ICE and CBP. They want to abolish it. They don't want to enforce our immigration laws. They want criminal aliens to roam free in our country. But the fact is, they need to put the politics of their far-left radical base aside, and they need to do what is right by the American people. The Department of Homeland Security needs to be funded in full. You have a Secret Service agent who was shot at point-blank range. Thank God he was wearing a vest. But he's not being paid. The Secret Service, the Coast Guard, we're in the middle of a war in Iran, and the Coast Guard is not being paid. It is absolute insanity. It is time to pass this bill. And if the Democrats won't join us in funding the department in full, then yes, we need to do Reconciliation 2.0 immediately and pass full funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
President Trump urging the House to pass full funding for DHS, writing on True Social, we need all Republicans join together, support this budget blueprint, which will allow us to bypass Democrat obstruction in the Senate. House Republicans must unify and pass the same blueprint to get the bill done. I've asked for the final bill on my desk by June 1st. House Speaker Johnson says he's looking to push for a modified bill, which raises the possibility of more delays. I want to bring in Florida Senator Ashley Moody. Senator, when you were Florida's Attorney General, you brought charges against Ryan Ruth, who plotted to assassinate the president on his golf course. The second attempt on this president. Your expectations from your experience of how this is all going to unfold with this new suspect?
Yeah, my experience is going to be night and day from what DOJ and Jeanine Pirro are handling today. Remember, when I was the Florida Attorney General and that assassination attempt occurred at Mar-a-Lago against our president, Joe Biden was in the White House, and we had a DOJ that had, in many respects, and many of the agencies under DOJ had blatantly shown that they were working against the interests of the American people and the president, and we were being obstructed in our own investigation in Florida. So if you'll remember, I pleaded with DOJ at that time, look, share evidence, talk to our investigators, make sure you allow us unfettered work with you so that the American people can trust that this investigation is happening in a transparent, accountable way. And of course, the Biden administration and that DOJ was throwing up roadblocks at every turn. So we had no choice. We had to bring our own investigation, our own suit. And I was glad to do that, not only to bring justice and accountability for that assassination attempt against our president, but also to make sure that the American people understood that there would be at the same time a parallel investigation by a state who really wanted to seek transparency and accountability for the people.
You know, Senator, the White House is blaming Saturday's shooting on the Democrats' rhetoric. They're saying this is contributing to this climate of escalating political violence. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called out House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries over his comments declaring maximum warfare on Republicans just days before this shooting happened. Now, Jeffries is defending his choice of language. Watch this.
The notion that any of us are concerned with so-called criticism from these phony Republicans as it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
2 days after the attempt on the president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Senator. Your reaction?
And that guy's holding himself out as a steward and guardian and leader of this nation. It's tragic. It's heartbreaking. I can tell you that that reference of phony Republicans, I wonder what he's talking about. Are we making up that our president has, there's been an attempt to assassinate our president 3 times? Are we making up that conservative leaders have been assassinated? Are we making up that they are basically calling this president a dictator and a fascist? I mean, I have a guy running against me right now that refers to the whole Make America Great Again movement as fascism. I mean, it is unbelievable, the rhetoric coming from my colleagues, and I would just call on them to be the responsible leaders, be the people who care about the success and future of this country that the people that elected you sent you here to be. We know that the person who attempted the assassination on President Trump's life on Saturday night had attended No Kings rallies. I mean, we are talking about so much more than another incident. How many times are we going to have an assassination attempt? How many times are we going to have another radical left attack? You know the radical left attacks, the violent attacks have increased dramatically in the last few years. And I would just say this has become so much more about another incident or another attack. This is no longer about 2 teams battling on the field for policy and how to achieve the success for this nation. You now have a team who is purposefully trying to take out a quarterback. It's like Bountygate all over again. They want him carted off the field. And at the same time, I'm not so sure they're trying to take down the whole stadium at the same time. Listen to their rhetoric. They preach against America. They preach against the ideals we were founded on. This is so much more than against Saturday night, and is my sincere hope that the media now realizes that. They understand that we've been trying to say this all along, and we must change the rhetoric and the approach and the narrative if we want this country to continue on the trajectory of success we've had for the last 250 years.
And also, you know, maybe try to stop, again, we've seen with social media companies in the past, try to stop this hateful rhetoric and these echo chambers that are created with some of these online groups. Maybe there's more work to be done, legal work to be done, law enforcement work to be done, so that these individuals don't become so incredibly radicalized that they get on a train from California to D.C. With guns and knives in their pockets. I do want to move on to some big business with Florida. Lawmakers are beginning this special session today there. They're going to consider this newly proposed congressional map. Unveiled by the governor, this could give Republicans up to 4 additional seats. Now, Governor DeSantis says the new map adjusts for the state's rapid growth. The Virginia Supreme Court is weighing the legality of the Commonwealth's new redistricting map after a state court blocked its implementation. That would give Democrats a 10-to-1 advantage if that's officially approved. Senator, I want to get your reaction and what are your expectations for today with Florida?
Yeah, so as you know, Florida is in a special session this week to address redistricting. We'll see what they do. There's no other state in the nation that is more justified in looking at a mid-decade redistricting than Florida. I think about just the last 5 years in our population growth. You have people from all over the country, from ruined, failed, blue states that are just seeking a place where government wants to actually protect their citizens and keep government out of their lives as much as possible. In fact, Governor DeSantis and I worked very hard to do just that during the COVID epidemic, which is why so many people are now fleeing to Florida. So we've had such a large shift in population and where those people are moving that it merits taking a look at that. So we'll see what the legislature does this week. I think that they'll be looking at this very closely. And as you know, Governor DeSantis and his team have released a proposed map already.
All right. We're going to be following that, of course. Senator Ashley Moody, it's always great to have you on the program.
Great to be with you.
Thank you for being here. We'll be right back, everybody.